Good afternoon to everyone in the room, and good afternoon, evening, or morning to those of you coming to us online. We don't know where you are and what time zone you're in, but we're very happy you're here with us. So here we have getting to the end of the fourth day of a 6-day Sesshin at Upaya, the fall practice period. And this is the day that we are really settling into the Sesshin, if we haven't done so yet. It feels like we've been in Sesshin forever, and maybe the rest of the world will be called off on Friday and we'll continue to be in Sesshin forever. We don't know. But this is the day that if you're in Sesshin, you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So don't look there. Just don't. Avert your eyes. Come back to the cushion. Come back to the zendo. This is such a rare and precious opportunity for meditation all day long for 6 days. Whoever does that, whoever can. I mean, I know that many of you moved heaven and earth to be able to come here and do this. So when you feel like, whoa, I'm almost through this, come on back. Just come on back. We're all here together. The Saturday will come soon enough, according to the calendar anyway. We don't know for sure, but we think Saturday will be here soon enough. And in the meantime, we can really be present in our meditation, be present with each other and with Sesshin. It's such a rare opportunity. So I'd like to talk a little bit about oryoki meals during Sesshin. So if you are not in Sesshin, many of you are not, you may not know that we eat in the zendo. Oryoki is the name of our little kit of bowls and utensils for eating and cleaning up. It's a very practical way to feed a crowd, especially if you plan to be seated and silent for a week. Oryoki is probably influenced by Japanese tea ceremony, cha no yu. It has some of the same characteristics as tea ceremony. I studied Japanese tea ceremony for many years and was assistant to the resident elderly Japanese tea ceremony and no chanting teacher at Green Gulch Farm. Her name was Nakamura Sensei. Green tea was first brought to from China to Japan by Eisai, who also is credited with bringing Chan to Japan through the Linji line, becoming Rinzai Zen. So Rinzai Zen, I think he came in something like 1191. Eisai came back from China in 1191, so that was before Dogen was born. I mentioned this in my last talk. He's the one Dogen first studied with when he was 14 years old. He had gone to Tendai University and completed his studies, and then went to study with Eisai. But Eisai died when Dogen was 15, so Dogen studied with Eisai's successor, Myozen. And it was Myozen that he traveled to Japan with. Anyway, I talked about those guys a few weeks ago. Tea ceremony developed over the centuries, becoming more secular while retaining and developing many of the early qualities, like wabi-sabi, the aesthetic wabi-sabi. Wabi-sabi celebrates the mellow beauty that time and care impart to materials as a reminder to cherish one's unpolished and unfinished nature, better known as kind of funky. Well cared for, but maybe a little tattered. I don't know about you, but I and everyone I know am involved in trying to get rid of some things in my life. And I look at my things to, okay, what am I going to get rid of? That's just too much of everything. And I find myself pulling out all the newer things to get rid of because I can't part with those wabi-sabi kind of worn things that are hanging out in closets and drawers and cupboards. So I think we have a real feeling for this aesthetic, and not only because we love Zen, but I think it's just human. Something about possessions that we've had a long time are kind of alive for us in some way. And so this wabi-sabi aesthetic has been cultivated and honored and preserved through Japanese history to the present. In oryoki practice, as in tea ceremony, we relate to the bowls and utensils, the food and the water, and the people who serve the food and water as all one body, rather than different people and different objects. So when we pick up the bowl, we use two hands and lean forward a bit because we are relating to the bowl as kind of like alive in its own way, as a being, a bowl being. So we pick it up with our whole body and relate to it with our whole body. This sounds ridiculous. Yet if you practice relating to objects as beings, which have their own time and place on earth, just like we do, you will come to feel differently about yourself and the space and the objects around you. When we bow, holding the bowl, we are bowing to the bowls. So we keep the bowl a bit elevated as we bow. We don't do that. We are thanking the bowl for containing and bringing us the food that we ate. We bow this way with lots of objects in the Zendo because we practice and honor the aliveness of the world we live in. I would like to revisit the beautiful painting that we saw early in the practice period of the monkey reaching for the moon in the water. Fact is, as I mentioned once before, the moon is not a source of light. It reflects light from the sun. So light reflects from the sun to the moon to the dewdrop to our eyes. If we were to look at the monkey's eyes while she looked at the moon in the water, we would see the moon's reflection there in her eyes. And what is this meaning? I've been thinking a lot about the word and the phenomena resonance. It started when I was teaching a series of classes on Nagarjuna's Madhyamaka last spring. Madhyamaka is where we find the thorough and systematic explanation of emptiness in Mahayana Buddhism. And it's a tough study. Traditionally, emptiness has been the English word used to translate the Sanskrit word shunyata. Here at Upaya, we use the word boundlessness. The doctrine of shunyata is summed up by Nagarjuna with the term middle way. Summed up is probably not quite right, but anyway, he brought us the term middle way to clarify this teaching of shunyata. So middle way does not mean halfway between here and there or a compromise between this and that. It means no place to hold on to. It means there is no static, permanent state anywhere. Everything is dynamic. In China, the phrase "not knowing is nearest" captures this. And in Suzuki Roshi's words, beginner's mind, Zen mind, beginner's mind, captures this sense of middle way. Zen mind, beginner's mind is the mind of openness, the mind of not knowing. So the not knowing that came through to us from China is beginner's mind. It kind of like means there are no nouns. In Stephen Batchelor's most excellent book on Madhyamaka, he used the word contingency instead of emptiness, because it emphasizes the dynamic relationships characteristic of the phenomenal world, rather than their static identity. Contingency is a very good word. I also like the word resonance. I like it because it references a common experience, specific and immediate, not just a special once-in-a-lifetime or life-changing experience that the word enlightenment references in our language. I'm happy with the word resonance because it gives us access to what we're talking about, more than emptiness. And for me, more than boundlessness does. It means something specific in physics. It means the reinforcement or prolongation of sound, the reinforcement or prolongation of sound by reflection from a surface or by the synchronous vibration of a neighboring object. I love that. I'm going to read that again. Sorry. The reinforcement or prolongation of sound by reflection from a surface or by the synchronous vibration of a neighboring object. And resonance means something common and experiential to us. When I feel or experience resonance, I don't disappear poof in an enlightened cloud of nothingness or something like that. No, I'm here, and while here, I feel a kind of shimmering connection with something that is not me, really. I might feel resonance when I hear a bird song, the wind, or the rain, even when a truck drives by. When we hear music, we perceive resonance with our whole bodies, not just our ears. That's why we want to get up and dance. In the monkey painting that we talked about earlier this practice period, the monkey wants that moon in the water. She feels the resonance of the moon, the water, and her body. And at the same time believes it is an object she could grab and have for herself. She's reaching out for the reflection while holding onto the tree branch, and it looks really precarious. Her misconception could be dangerous if she fell out of the tree and into the water. We don't know if she can swim, and we don't know if there's alligators in the water. So here we are, feeling resonance with something beautiful, or someone special, or with water, because we are mostly water, or with Buddhist practice. Our inclination is to reach out for it as though it were an object we could grab and hold for ourselves. But as the painting of the monkey reaching for the moon in the water indicates, the act of grabbing, even if the monkey could actually get to the reflection, would obliterate the things she wants and thinks she can grab. This image is beautiful and sad and funny, of feeling drawn to or love for or resonant with something, alongside the folly of thinking of that resonance as an object that we could somehow acquire for ourselves. Our practice is sitting quietly with the resonance as it comes and goes. Excuse me. When a cloud blocks the moonlight, there is no moon on the water. When the cloud blows away, the moon comes back. The moon never left. We don't control the moon or the cloud, and therefore not the resonance either. So thinking of the word resonance clarifies this matter for me. Thinking of the word enlightenment, not so much. As Senko mentioned a few weeks ago about my insistence that the line in the Jewel Mirror Samadhi, written by Dongshan in 9th century China, should say, hiding an egret in the moonlight. It says hiding a heron in the moonlight. Snow in a silver bowl. These are images of resonance. The white egret in the silver moonlight, the white snow in a silver bowl, are images of resonance. The line is, when you mix them, you know where they are. So it's not that the snow disappears in the silver bowl, and it's not that the egret disappears and merges with the moonlight. Each retains its own being, its own dignity. Yet when we see them together, egret in the moonlight, in that resonance, the beauty takes our breath away. This resonance is mind itself is Buddha. Mind as it always is. What separates us from seeing the beauty of this resonance is that, like the monkey, we tend to think of Buddha as separate from us, and that our practice is to find Buddha and then line up behind him or her. When I was a young practitioner, I was given the practice of saying to myself, as often as possible, this very mind is Buddha. At the time, I was driving a wheelchair school bus for children with profound disabilities in East Oakland. So I encountered all kinds of people in my day, many of whom might not pop immediately into mind as Buddha. Yet, what became clear to me was that if this very mind of mine is Buddha, this mind of impatience, of anger, of self-consciousness, of judgment, of general bad attitude, if this very mind is Buddha, then the person in front of me is also Buddha. And actually, I do resonate with this person. Dogen refers to this in several fascicles, one entitled Only a Buddha and a Buddha. I mention this a lot. It's one of my favorites. It means we can only see or perceive Buddha with our own Buddha eye, which is not our own at all. Buddha is not a static or stationary object. It comes and goes like everything, like the resonance of an egret in the moonlight. Dogen says in Endeavor of the Way, there are those who, attracted by grass, flowers, mountains, and water, flow into the Buddha way. And there are those who, grasping earth, rock, sand, and pebbles, manifest the Buddha's seal. In fact, although the boundless words of the Buddha overflow among myriad things, the turning of the great Dharma wheel is contained inside a single particle. In this sense, the words, mind itself is Buddha, or this very mind is Buddha, are like the moon reflected on the water. The teaching, sitting itself is becoming Buddha, is like the reflection in the mirror. Do not be concerned with the splendor of the words. I like that last sentence. Do not be concerned with the splendor of the words. I talked quite a bit about language last time or the time before, and saying that our language kind of parallels our experience, but it doesn't nail it. Our language never nails our experience. So when we use this language, the language can be beautiful, the language can be klutzy and stupid, but somehow it puts us in the territory of the meaning, of the sharing experience that we want. Last time I spoke about longing and awe as experiences resonant in the present. And something about our thought of future as an abstraction, projection of our experience of resonance in the present, our experience of awe and longing. We long for peace, the end of suffering in our world today. Our hearts ache with this longing. This is our resonance with the suffering of so-called others. I'm wondering, is this where we generate a concept of hope for the future, projecting our heartache as our vision of the future? The future is where we find the promise that things will get better, because we long for the relief from suffering in the present. Maybe our practice this week is sitting with the longing, the awe, the resonance, with suffering in the present, refraining from abstracting that longing as a scenario of the future. In the Genjo Koan, Dogen says, when Dharma does not fill your whole body and mind, you think it is already sufficient. When Dharma fills your body and mind, you understand that something is missing. This grief, heartache, longing, awe, and resonance is human life in the present moment. I want to tell you something I heard once from Malcolm Margolin. Malcolm Margolin was born in 1940 He died just a couple of months ago. He lived in Berkeley since 1969, where he was a cultural icon. He founded Heyday Books, published hundreds of books, and specialized in California Native peoples and some other things too. I knew him because he would visit schools. He would come and visit schools, regaling students and teachers with wonderful stories. I remember one such occasion when he told us that we were probably the second generation in human history. A lot of you would be the third generation, maybe even the fourth generation. So getting back to what I was saying, I'm the second generation to not live among and have daily contact with big animals. I bet you didn't see that coming. But think about it. He said, this is significant. In all of human history, most human beings have had daily contact with big animals until basically my parents' generation. And that's no longer the case. So people who live daily among big animals need to keep track of those animals whenever they step outside. People who walk among big animals with awareness, with knowledge that we just don't have. They would be aware that while it's great to be human, humans might not be in charge. And one must watch out and watch for these big animals, whether they are domestic and gentle or wild and dangerous. They were essential in their lives. Imagine how different from our lives that would be. We live among machines that humans invented and control. We walk by machines, parked cars and all kinds of equipment without noticing and without much concern. And all of us share this experience or close to it, regardless of where we live. We live mostly in a human-built environment. And even if we have a garden, we probably don't depend on it for all of our food, shelter, and clothing. And I'm bringing this up because of the nature images in Dogen's writing must have had a different context and different connotations for people at that time than they have for us. Where Dogen says, grass, trees, walls bring forth the teaching for all beings, common people as well as sages. We might say, cars, computers, and pickleball courts bring forth the teachings for all beings, common people as well as sages. I don't know. So now I want to get around to what the title of this talk was supposed to be, Unconstructedness in Stillness. Kodo asked me for a title the other day, and that's what I came up with before I'd finished writing the talk. So, Unconstructedness in Stillness. It's in that one of I think the third to the last paragraph that we're reading in the Zendo this week, of Dogen's, what am I trying to say? The Bendowa, of Dogen's Bendowa. And thanks to Monshin for bringing it to our attention and then making it happen, we get to read this wonderful piece of writing every day. It's something worth keeping and something worth continuing to read. So he flows along in a way that we can follow. It's pretty whoa, 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 like that for me. But then he gets to this mystery term, unconstructedness in stillness. And that's where I go, whoop, okay, better stop and figure this one out. Unconstructedness in stillness. It is immediate realization, is what he says. Then Dogen brings up again the matter of practice and realization not being two things, like I talked about the other day when I went on a little rant about that's not Buddhism, that's capitalism. So Dogen feels very strongly about this. And in talking about unconstructedness and stillness, explaining what he means, he says, in stillness, mind and object merge in realization and go beyond enlightenment. Nevertheless, because you are in the state of self-fulfilling samadhi, without disturbing its quality or moving a particle, you extend the Buddha's great activity, the incomparably profound and subtle teaching. So that's the context of the term unconstructedness in stillness. Unconstructedness is a translation of the Sanskrit word amskrita, S-K-R-T-A. It's a lot of consonants lined up. Skrita, yeah. Asamskrita. It means the opposite of samskrita. And it means unconditioned dharmas, or that which is unconditioned. So there's a lot of writing about this term, and this would have been in the 1st or 2nd century in India, when there were many schools of Buddhism who were putting forth their own variation on theories of this and that. There were just a lot of theories on the table. And so this was one of them. So so one version is this. There are 3 characteristics from this is from 1st or 2nd century Indian Buddhist teaching, and Nagarjuna had a hand in this, so it caught my eye. Not attached to thoughts. Okay, there's 3 characteristics of asamskrita. Not attached to thoughts, free from all desires, and without calculation. Not attached to thoughts, free from all desires, and without calculation. Now, these are translations, so to really understand this stuff, you have to delve into Sanskrit a little bit more, but another time. Taking a look at these 3 characteristics of unconstructedness, we might notice that it does not say without thoughts and without desires. As Huineng might say, those of us who are without thoughts and desires are dead. He said that. I mean, he doesn't say the desire part. He said, don't try to stop thinking. People who stop thinking are dead. This is about attachment to thoughts, which means misunderstanding what thoughts are. That is, thoughts are thoughts, like bird song is bird song. They are not truths or messages from somewhere or directives in any way. So the second is engaging desires. That is, thinking that desires are to be acted on. The third characteristic of unconstructedness is without calculation. Now that's interesting. I'm sure that meaning goes deep, whatever calculation is in Sanskrit. But what we do know is that we calculate in situations in which we want to gain advantage, even if we want to gain advantage on behalf of others. not only ourselves, we are, let's see, what was that? Even if we want to gain advantage on behalf of others, not only ourselves, we're kind of saying, I'm going to make myself the authority here with regard to what would be best. I'm going to take control. I'm going to game this thing to give advantage to my team. That sort of thing. And it involves anticipating the future to calculate a strategy. We would do this when we don't trust reality as it is, as it unfolds, as it opens to us. And we don't trust ourselves either. So that's the short version of this word in Bendoa, unconstructedness, according to Buddhist doctrine. It is also very close, and for our purposes, essentially the same, as a Chinese Taoist term, Wu Wei. Wu Wei is a central concept and really practice for Taoists and Confucianists as well. As I understand, this is not my field of expertise, so I learned about this. I think it's the cornerstone of martial arts, for example. It means actionlessness or motionlessness, but also effortless action, harmonizing with the present situation, harmonizing with the energy present and working with that. And I found some different excerpts on Wu Wei. And one of them, the first is from a 4th century BCE Chinese text. It is, there is a Numen. Now, Numen is not a Chinese word, so it's translated as a divine power or spirit. The Chinese word is Shen. But Numen is probably Numen's kind of our closest. So there is a Numen naturally residing within. One moment it goes, the next it comes. And no one is able to conceive of it. If you lose it, you are inevitably disordered. If you attain it, you are inevitably well-ordered. Diligently clean out its lodging, and its vital essence will naturally arrive. That verse, or that whatever it is, caught my eye because of that last line, diligently clean out its lodging, because that is very much like our Zazen practice. We kind of don't go after understanding directly. We allow distractions to fall away and allow experience to enter. We don't go grabbing for it. We don't calculate it. So here's another quote. This is by Baizhang Huihai. Just a bit about Baizhang. Baizhang who would have been the Dharma grandson of Huineng. And he is known for the saying, a day without working is a day without eating. He followed Daoxin, who was several generations earlier, in establishing working farm monasteries. And this was a new culture in China. And it was good timing because there was horrible things going on in China at that time. And monks were losing their ability to be supported by the emperor. So establishing farm monasteries, working farm monasteries became the norm, especially in more or less southern China. And Baizhang was really kind of a founder. He wasn't the founder, Daoshin was, but he was really a promoter of that, and he was very, very important. He also established a kind of new version of rules of conduct for Zen Buddhist practitioners. The Zen Buddhist practitioners had been following the Vinaya, but there was kind of a revolt against that. And then there was this period of just kind of spontaneous wildness, kind of like the 60s. And then Baizhang came along and just sort of established monastic rules and established this farming community. And he, the story about him is his saying was, a day of no working is a day of no eating. And he was, toward the end of his life, he was sick in bed, and he got up and worked anyway, and he was getting sicker and sicker, and his disciples snuck into his quarters and took the tools and hid them. And so he wouldn't eat. So they had to give him back his tools. And that's what he went out and worked. So he's very well known for that, but he was a brilliant, one of our brilliant ancestors. He says on the subject of Wu Wei, the principle is the principle of non-seeking. So that's kind of our Zen talk. The principle is a non-principle. The principle is the principle of non-seeking. Seek it and you lose it. If you cling to non-seeking, this is still the same as seeking. If you cling to non-doing, this is the same again as doing. So if this is a matter to be taken up in our meditation practice, then we really get how our motivations kind of fold on top of each other. And like, I'm motivated, oh, I'm going to get rid of that motivation. I'm free. Oh, wait. And then there's another one taking its place. So he articulates that very nicely. So, and also captures the spirit of Wu Wei there. And then Linji. So Linji Yixuan, he was the most famous of one of the 5 schools is called the Linji school, which became Rinzai Zen in Japan. And he was also a wonderful Zen teacher. He said, followers of the way, as to the Buddha Dharma, no effort is necessary. You have only to be ordinary, with nothing to do, defecating, urinating, wearing clothes, eating food, and lying down when tired. Linji also connects non-doing with turning one's light around. And of course, that reminds us of Dogen's words from the Fukan Zazengi about turning your light inward. Dogen says, take the backward step and turn the light inward. Your body, mind of itself will drop away and your original face will appear. Take the backward step and turn the light inward. Your body, mind of itself will drop away and your original face will appear. And that's just a very beautiful teaching of Wu Wei. Then Dogen says in the next few lines, so back to Bendowa, after the line about the unconstructedness, he says, in stillness, mind and object merge. In stillness, mind and object merge in realization. Mind and object merge in realization and go beyond enlightenment. This brings me back to something I shared with you in my first talk at this practice period, something that Tatsudo Nicole Biden Roshi, the successor of Richard Baker Roshi, shared in the ceremony last summer of her becoming abbot. She said, "Go to stillness, stay with stillness, return to stillness, and the world will open up to you." Go to stillness, stay with stillness, return to stillness, and the world will open up to you. Thank you very much. And for the rest of this sesshin, and for those of you going home, please enjoy your breathing, and please take into account the life of an old cup.